Hi, everyone. Welcome back to World History. This is our last section of notes for Unit 1. So that means at the end of this lecture, you will be turning your notes in. So go ahead and get your notes out and let's get started. So today we're talking about strong rulers uniting China. So we're going to very much wrap up China and by extension wrap up this first unit as well. So let's get started. So to start us off, we have Xihuangdi, who was a part of the Qin Dynasty. Zheng or Xihuangdi was considered to be the first emperor of ancient China. He brought about what was known as the Classical Age, in which they established set patterns of government, philosophy, religion, science, and the arts that serve as a framework for later cultures in China. It's also during this time we see the Great Wall of China also being constructed and basic tenets and beliefs of Chinese society being established. So he very much unified China. He ran a very authoritarian style government through an idea known as legalism with the help of Han Dynasty, where it says that the nature of man is evil, goodness is acquired, stating that greed was stronger than conflict. He established very strict laws with harsh punishments, and he ruled with strength, not goodness. Now, what he did to people that did not agree with him ranged from being arrested to burning books that did not show him in the best of ways. So, in terms of establishing unity, he completely abolished feudalism. Remember, we talked about that last time. He also established a number of military districts and then had the nobility move to the capital. Peasants would then pay high taxes on the land that they were living on, and he would also establish things like a standardized weights and measures, greater access to writing, stronger cart axles, and the construction of early roads in ancient China. Again, like I previously mentioned, one of his greatest achievements was the construction of the Great Wall of China. It joined feudal defense walls and immobilized resources and people, and it is an important symbol of Chinese culture and their ability to construct this sort of thing even today. The Great Wall of China is actually considered one of the newer wonders of the world. Again, it falls later than most of the places that fall in the ancient wonders of the world, so it falls in the newer set. So eventually, the dynasty would collapse, specifically from Xihuangdi's death. And again, like the dynastic cycle says, the end of a dynasty usually is symbolic of things like high taxes, harsh rule, forced labor, and a number of revolts as well. Now, in his tomb, something rather famous was buried there with him. These are the Terracotta Warriors. There were 6,000 of them, and they've been discovered since 1974 till about 1980. They're meant to be there to protect the body of Xihuangdi. These also included examples of terracotta horses and a variety of other things that would be needed to provide a military defense of said tomb. Here's another image for you. They've constructed an entire building around the tomb just to preserve the Terracotta Warriors. As you can see, looks like it's a pretty expansive thing. Some more images of that. There's a lot of them. So moving on from Xihuangdi, we move on to the Han Dynasty, and Gaozu, or Liu Bang, as we'll refer to him sometimes. He was an illiterate peasant who led a rebellion versus the Qin Dynasty and won. He founded the Han Dynasty and was a very strong supporter of Confucianism and Confucian scholars. So he strengthened the economy a lot, built things like roads and canals. Monopolies also began to arise during this time period when there was complete control of a product or business by one person or group, especially in the ideas of iron and salt. He also very much helped the idea of expansionism. This is expanding a country's territory and established something known as the Silk Road, which links China to the west, specifically to the Fertile Crescent, where we talked about all those other earlier civilizations this unit. So a little bit more about Confucianism. It really strengthened the government, and it established that officials in the government should be scholarly. To run the bureaucracy, they should also be gentlemen and have a well-rounded education, meaning that they'd attended some sort of university. Now, This also established the idea of civil servants, or non-elected officials in government, and their positions was based on merit, not that they deserved it, not that they were owed it to them, but they had the ability and the knowledge to successfully complete that job. So eventually, the Han Dynasty, as any dynasty in China would decline. There was a number of warlords or local military rulers that overthrew the weak leaders and gained power. As a result, it led to mass revolts and rebellions all across ancient China. So some achievements of the Han Golden Age. We'll start with science and medicine. For texts and writings, we have things that really establish things like chemistry, zoology, and botany. They improve the calendar and time. Again, they do have the Chinese zodiac calendar, as pictured over here. They developed early anesthetics, herbal remedies that really helped, and the science and study of acupuncture, or inserting needles into the skin at specific points to relieve pain or treat illness. I don't know about you guys, but having a whole bunch of needles stuck into me just makes me like, no thank you. In terms of technology and engineering, they really started to develop things like paper made out of wood pulp. They began to build more ships with actual rudders. They made stirrups to ride, to attach to saddles to ride on horses, fishing reels, wheelbarrows, and the earliest suspension bridges. In terms of the arts, they built wooden buildings and temples and palaces. They made a number of carvings, ceramic figures. There was a book entitled The Lessons for Women by Ban Zhao that described the proper behavior for women. Here's some various examples of art that came from this time period. So eventually China would accept Buddhism as a religion, and it was very popular in times of crisis. It was an idea to help them escape from suffering, hope of eternal happiness. It helped them to see a compassionate and merciful God and know that anyone could gain salvation through the ideas of prayer, good works, and devotion. And I do believe that means we are at the end of our notes for this unit. So again, your notes are going to be due right after we're done with this. That means in 3 class periods, you will be having your test. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.